welcome to the BigFooty Tigercast, which is going to be the Richmond BigFooty podcast form. We've got two guests on today. We've got Starburns and RodneyDangerfield, so welcome, fellas, and thanks for coming on.
G'day.
Hello, boys.
Good, going well. The first thing we'll probably do was a suggestion by Wackle Pudding. It was something we did discuss before, behind the scenes, but we just want to find out a bit more about how each guest become a Richmond supporter, because we've all got a story. We've all shed some tears along the way. So I'll start with you, Rodney. How did you become a Richmond supporter?
Well, believe it or not, as a little fella, I was a Footscray fan, and I don't know how that came about, but I know I did love a player called David Thorpe. He left. He went to Richmond. I had a Footscray jump with number 14, and I was a little bit doing that. And then Mum and Dad took my sister and I to a Richmond Hawthorn game at the MCG one day because I think we were playing up. And Jimmy Jess kicked the goal after the siren. Tigers got up. I hit a hawk. I'm a Tiger. Wasn't exactly over the line, and a couple of weeks later I was to a Richmond Essendon game at Waverley with a cousin that was a Richmond fan that I looked right up to. Sadly, his name that got me over the line. There was a draw that game at Waverley, and I've been black and yellow ever since then. That was in 1977.
Those are gradual progressions to get you over the line.
It took a couple of weeks, and on that same day, I think I kept asking what the scores were at the Footscray game, and they lost about 80 points, so I've dropped them.
Jump ship. Good call. What about yourself?
Mine's more of a, I guess, typically tragic Richmond supporter born post 1980. In that I was effectively born into it. My mum was Richmond, my dad was Collingwood, and basically mum went to the football. She's far more passionate than dad. To the football. Yep. To watch Richmond, came home, he's taught me a new song when I was about 3 years old. Wound up with the good old Collingwood forever, and very next week with the books and the toys off I was, and she'd take me to the football.
Yeah, I can't imagine that wouldn't have gone down too well at all, I don't.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. She got Richmond in her family going way, way back. So, and just, I guess, being born into it and being sort of indoctrinated in it, going along that way is, the parent that took me to the full. One in the end.
Yeah, I was kind of similar. I was pretty much born into it. My whole mum's side, mum was Richmond, her sister and mum were Richmond. Dad was Essendon, but kind of never really got into it. So I'm 29, but my membership actually says I've been a member for 31 years. So someone obviously got in real early and my name down. So I don't think I had much choice, to be honest. But I think it's fair to say being a Richmond supporter builds character.
Yep.
You're not wrong.
I would absolutely agree with that. So, see, we're in the same age group there. It's been a difficult lifetime of. It's it's almost going to be, when the day does come, it's almost going to be wondering what to do.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to go to one. I was 9 though. I still remember it pretty vividly though in 1998. But I'm a little bit luckier than you guys, I suppose.
That's about as young as you can be and still have a vivid memory too.
Yeah.
Any younger than that, you'd be in a bit of trouble with that. But no, I'm much the same. If we won, Punt Road would be a couple of days, I think.
Streets in the city too, because there'd be thousands upon thousands of people just jammed in there.
Just think about what the Dogs one was. They're a small club, and sure, they waited 6 odd years, but Richmond's passed halfway on that number by a fair way. It'll be something the Silverman's never seen before.
100%. No one else is looking forward to it at all. The day we do it, they are going to cop it out and shellacking for all of us. Do you reckon we visit the main board of BigFooty on that day? Just for laughs?
Oh, BigFooty might break, but as a Bay 13 poster, predominantly, that'll be my first port of call, and there'll be there's this thread there that's tagged as a backfire, and it's called He Who Laughs Last, and Richmond thread. And every time we lose, it gets bumped with someone taking the piss, and it'll be just really great to go in there when that happens and bump it and say, who's laughing now?
But I think what you said before was spot on. I think the servers will actually crash, and none of us against the globe.
Especially if we beat Norwich in a close one.
All right, well, we'll move on to the first segment. We'll call it the roast and toast. So I'll start with you first, Rodney. Who was your toast and roast for the previous week of football?
Well, my roast would be Jason Johannisen, I think he's in a world of hurt. He cannot handle what's been dished up to him, and if he doesn't sort it out quick, smart, don't worry about getting 800,000 a year. He'll be playing twos at Witten Oval because he cannot cope with this, and I'm really the Bulldogs game just to see how he copes with it. So yes, he's a roast for me.
Sydney really gave it to him, didn't they? They just battered him at every chance they got. And someone made a good point during the week is teams often will try that for the first 5 or 10 minutes and then stop for doing it. Someone will try and be a hero and rough someone up. It never lasts, but they were just persistent and they just rattled him.
Well,
probably because it worked.
Well. Yeah, and Melbourne rattled him, and you can see the look on his face.
Yeah.
It's just not an area that he's comfortable with, and he's the only one to get himself out of it. You can have as many mates as you want, but if you can't handle that sort of stuff, he's going to go backwards in a real hurry. Yeah. And I'm surprised it's taken this long, but yeah, he's in a strife.
It's amazing how often no one ever thinks to rough a player up like that, and one team does it, and everybody's going to do it now to him until he stands up and actually does something back or plays one of those games. And it could take him a long time to get over that.
Because you've got to pick your marks, don't you? Like, he's very bruise-free, I guess, compared to some of the other players. Yeah. So it's an obvious target, really. I know when we played him, in that last quarter, he killed us off halfback. No one could get near him. So it's not a bad little tactic to try that.
Well, Collingwood teammate are out of form.
Collingwood did to Jack Watts. It took him 9 years to get over it.
I'm over it now, though.
Yeah, he got there in emphatic fashion, but it does sort of can follow a player for a long time.
And what about your toast, Rodney?
Well, I hate to go here. We'll give it toast to Alex Rance because he's just a freak. But outside of Richmond, I'm going to go for my famous Moz here because this guy really deserves a toast. That's Bryce Gibbs. I've been watching him all year. His form is unbelievable. He has been playing the best footy of anyone in the league, really. And if we don't put some time into him this week, we'll be in real strife. I don't know if Wendell will go to him or there. But, I'll toast he deserves it, and I'll toast him because
I agree. His last game would have 40-odd disposals. I don't know if he kicked a couple of goals or not, but you would think that Kane Lent would have to have first crack at him just to try and cozy him from the game. 10
tackles as well, though.
He's been great.
That's the full package, really. Couple of goals, 40 disposals, and double-figure tackles. You can't ask for much more. That's out of the box.
First player to ever done it, I think they said. 40 touches, double-figure tackles, 2 goals. There was a whole host of numbers, but he's the first player to have ever done it.
But it's probably the best individual performance we'll see for the year.
Yeah, right up there, absolutely.
And what about you, Starburns? What was your toast and roast for the week?
Look, I don't want to go obvious, but it has to be Alex Rance. It just can't be for the toast. It just can't be understated how huge he was. And it was the really unfortunate thing was that part of what turned that game last quarter, or at least helped Sydney over the line, was that he was beating Buddy so comprehensively that Longman made the move Buddy up the ground to get away from him. Buddy started to actually have an impact that made a difference, and that's, I don't know, that's sort of, it's almost frustrating that he plays so well that him playing so well actually in the end sort of hurt us in a roundabout sense, I guess. But he was just still phenomenal, and he's the one when we lose games like that you really feel for him.
There was that in the last quarter. He must have had 2 or 3 real big efforts down front of the G squad. Got the ball to Grigg, and he across the face of goal straight to Sid play. So he just busted your ass, and then it's just been undone in a matter of moments.
Actually, in that last quarter, I was watching him. Reminded me of the 2014 last round of the season against the Swans when we got that lead and they were coming, and he just stood there and marked it and just repelled everything, and it felt like that, and you thought he's going to do it again, and it just didn't happen. This time it just didn't happen.
He's a freak, though.
Yeah.
I think I said someone the other day. Yeah, well, I think I said something the other day. I reckon the most breathtaking thing in footy, it's not a forward or an on-baller, but it's watching Alex Rance if you're at a game. The ball leaves the player's foot, and he just makes his mind up. And the way he just runs forward and meets the ball at 100, often on the half volley, 100 miles an hour. The way he backs himself, it's just the best thing you'll ever see on a footy field. He's amazing. He just does it time after time after time.
He's not indecisive either. A lot of players think they want to try and do something like that, but then they get themselves caught in no man's land and teams get easy goals. But he just has no fear in leaving his direct opponent to help someone else out.
He hunts the ball brilliantly, and the thing that he does so well is when he attacks the ball, no matter what he does, he may not take it cleanly, but this has almost been his whole career. He keeps the ball in front. It never gets behind him. Even if he doesn't get a clean possession, he keeps the ball in the spot where he can get it at the next contest, the next one. And he doesn't concede it. He doesn't let it get out the back on him. He always keeps himself in it until he wins it or neutralises.
Great reader of the play.
What was your toast? Your roast, sorry, for the round.
Look, I'll keep it short because we'll probably come to it later. But I think the 5 small forward line, I think time's up on that. It's just, even structurally, just got to have a second one. It doesn't matter who it is, but I feel that the 5 of them are really working. There's no pressure on spots, and I think some of them might be a little bit tired too. Yeah. And that's without singling anyone out, because a lot of them are quite young. But that's where I'd begin. I think there's a lot needs to be done there, and it's going to come up later, so I won't harp on it.
I had for the toasts, I went a little bit broader for Asprey and Grimes. I think the 3 of them have been pretty exceptional all year. I personally think that if Asprey plays a good game, that it actually allows Rance to play better, because he'll typically take that best forward. And if he's controlling and doing a good job, Rance is almost free to do whatever he wants and float around. So without Asprey stepping up as much as he has, I don't think we'd be in this position. And Grimes has always been, a good hard worker, so I think that we'd be unlucky copying that injury late in the game. But I think those 3 have been pretty good for us, and if it wasn't for them, we would have conceded a lot more goals and lost a lot more games.
Yeah, I think you could argue Asprey's more important than Rance. He's not a better player, but he's more important structurally because, like I said, he frees Rance up and he takes the best defender. And
he's improved out of sight.
It was only 2 years ago that the Richmond board on BigFooty was calling for him to be traded. Why do we give him number 12? All those kind of comments, and it was probably a little bit justified back then because he wasn't really doing a great deal. But the last couple of years he's come on really well. His marking's been probably a big standout for me as well, just backing himself in the pack situations and just clunking them.
Prior to this year, I never rated him as a defender. He always felt too slow. He got burnt on the lead, and I don't know what it is now. Maybe it's anticipation or the roles they're giving, but that's not so noticeable anymore. Like, I don't think he gained a yard, but certainly he's compensating for which all defenders have flaws except Alex Rance. He's a bit small, but you wouldn't know it for a key defender. But Asprey seemingly is compensated for that. You don't see him get smashed on the lead the way he used to, or that sort of thing.
Smarter. And that's maybe a lot of that comes down to communication as well. There's one instance in the Sydney game where Rance was on Buddy and he started to take off for a lead, and then another Sydney playing across him, and he just told Grimes to take Buddy. And then sure enough, Grimes popped in front and cut it out. And we just haven't done it in the past. There hasn't been any of that kind of coverage for each other. So that's been good to see.
And that's an organised defensive unit that you would expect from Geelong or teams like that in the past. Collingwood under Malthouse, that sort of thing.
He was close to leaving too.
What was that?
I was just saying he was very, very close to leaving as well.
There would have been a second-round pick, and I would have taken it too.
Well, he was going.
Good judging that. Funny thing is that would have been a very Richmond thing to do, like looking back now to get rid of someone, and they turn into what he's turned into.
That being said, it was Brisbane. He may not have become the same footballer.
For my roast, and this isn't blaming the results on the umpires because it's not they outplayed us, but this is more of a general thing. The holding the ball rule, I've completely lost track of how this was paid now. The one example that stood out for me was Cochrane on Heaney in the third quarter. Just dropped it after a tackle and nothing. And to me, the interpretation should be as simple as if you're tackled and don't get a kick or a handball, it's a free kick against. It should just be that simple.
Well, what about the Menadue one?
Yeah, I was about to say, what about Menadue?
He ran down from a long way, and I said to the guy next to me, I said, surely he's handballed it. And then it showed the replay.
The umpire signalled suggesting he had, but it didn't look like it.
They get paid all the time.
They do get paid a lot. Like, if it would want to have been a very clear handball, not a fumbly sort of handball to be paid. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? It's sort of holding the ball is as much a decision of how it looks. In some cases, it's sort of like the LBW in cricket. Sometimes you pay it just because it looks like it should be paid. Yeah. Like for, say, batsman padding up in cricket, it's sort of, and that looked like it should have been paid.
And it doesn't happen in all the games, but I think that's where the four umpires can kind of undo the game a little bit, because it's giving four different interpretations out there, which can make it even harder to understand why a free kick has been paid. But I felt last year they actually had it pretty good. I thought they were paying it pretty well, but for whatever reason, it's changed.
Yeah, it's sort of, and even from the start of the year, it's changed a bit from the first couple. Everything's changed. Liberate's changed, right after the Dogs game. But I think the system it's in the last 3 weeks has been a very, very poor failure in that.
Just too many interpretations.
They're way off the same page, mixed messages. Just you're at the game and you're wondering where the whistle's going to come from, because there's an umpire that you think is going to pay the free kick and he doesn't pay anything, and the whistle comes from over here, somewhere else. But it's come sort of late, because I think they even have the confidence to know who should be paying what. It's just,
One thing that's wrong, if you read our board, you'd think we're the only team, copper order off the umpires. But I watch a lot of the games, and it's just luck of the draw, and we've just been unlucky, and the umpiring's just been pretty poor across the board, I reckon. And
I didn't think the umpiring had an impact at all on the game on Saturday.
None of our close losses.
There are games where you can go, geez, we got a good run, bad run. Saturday, it was just, honestly, I didn't notice them too much. Like, I noticed mistakes, but I didn't think they're all going one way, or all the huge ones going one way.
We make silly mistakes. We make silly mistakes, especially when we get tired late in games. We make because when you're fatigued, that's when you start doing silly things, and that's what we do.
Quite easily, we made a lot more mistakes than any umpire will ever make, and that's why I'll never ever blame a loss on a decision, because there's far more things we should have done better. A team that would have got us a win.
Literally, I'm of the same opinion. The only way you lose a game on the umpiring is a bad free kick on the siren, and you can. But even then, you make mistakes.
Right. And we don't need bad decisions to lose.
No, we've got that covered. And speaking of the previous week's game, we'll touch on it a little bit now with a bit of a review. I was kind of hoping we'd be able to get up to a good start reviewing a win, but it wasn't to be. A 9-point loss, and now we've dropped back down to 6th with 7 and 5 losses. I don't know if I would have taken it at the start of the year if someone had said you'll be 7 and 5 after the bye. But based on our actual performances, it's a bit depressing. We probably should have won at least, obviously, another 3 or 4 of those, and potentially been first by a game.
I would agree with you on that, taking 7 and 5 at the start of the year. But on form, I would have, honestly, we should at least have the 9, I feel. Freo, we probably didn't deserve to win, and Dogs a bit of a coin flip, but the 2 Sydney teams, we had them and we let it slip, and those are the ones that are going to hurt.
Absolutely. And for me, some of the stats as well, like, even though we lost the hit-outs 21-50, we actually only lost the clearances by 4. So our mids were still doing their job. We had more marks inside 50, but it was just simply our conversion. And it's been the same for all of those close games. We just haven't kicked the easy goals when we need to.
2 for Nankervis, I think 2 for Dagner. Someone's missed the cinema, been Edwards.
Yeah, it just kills momentum. Like, I know, I missed the first quarter. I was stuck in traffic, but I was watching the replay, and like Nankervis one after the siren, that would have put us 6 goals up at quarter time, and that's just another dagger kind of into the heart of the Swans. But we just can't afford to miss these easy shots at goal. And the other big factor for me in the last quarter was Josh Kennedy. He was outstanding for Sydney. Kicked that goal from 60, and then got a really easy clearance in our 50 with a couple minutes to go, just pretty much unmarked. So we just got to tighten up on those couple of things as well, I reckon.
I think a really big factor in the game too was Sydney, and was going to happen eventually. North didn't wake up to it, and Starburns touched on it before. The small forward setup, look, it's really dangerous, and if players lower their eyes, it's right, which we done early. But then, Longmire, to his credit, he said, well, this is not working. Let's forget our zone, because that's how they play, the same as North, and they just went man on man. And our kicking isn't, you have to be dead set precise, and most teams can't do it when you've got a bloke on your ginger the whole way and just kicking a contest without a tall. There was just no plan B, because we can't have a plan B with that sort of setup. And
the other thing I think that really kills us in that regard, it happens all the time in close games, like the Tide kicks down the line looking for the contested mark, just the cheap bailout kick. And when you've got that small forward line, especially when so many of them are so young and inexperienced, like apart from Lloyd, who's never had a great fitness anyway, the rest of them are all under 21, I believe, or 22. And once they get tired, they're not going to spread the same way. So they're not going to find space. So it's sort of congestion happens organically, even if the Swans don't do a lot to. Even though they were in the
Rioli one out. And that was never going to work. They were going Rioli one out on the wing in the last quarter so much. It was just so frustrating. I felt that sorry for him. I understand why, because he's a very good one-on-one player, but he's just too small, and they were outnumbered. That was just never going to work.
And they weren't helping him out. Like, the key, if you're going to kick it to Rioli, is you've got to make sure it hits the deck.
Yeah, that's right.
You've got to kick it over their heads. You've got to somehow deceptively put a flattish-looking kick on that's going to clear them.
The moment we were able to apply body pressure to our small guys, we were no chance of getting that ball back. But speaking of...
Yeah, but the more the ball came back... just saying, the more the ball came back at them, the less confidence they had. They just ran out of ideas and options, and they were just trying... And it was just helpless. You could tell the game, couldn't you? Like, just, this is going to go nowhere. This is going to come back. Like, they just ran out of ideas. Right.
But speaking of the small forwards, it was good to see Bolton get his first 2 goals for the club. They were classic, just front and centre roving goals, and he has some exceptional speed up front.
Yeah, he looks a good player.
No, those are 2 good ones. Those 2 good ones to start on. Like, they just showed what he's capable of, and he sort of hinted at it at most in the Essendon game, but he really actually showed it a little bit more in this one, just how to break that space. And he was great until halftime, and I guess he got a bit tired as well, like all of them. Just wasn't in it as much after halftime, but he showed that once he gets the games into him, be like Rioli last year.
He's just got that swagger and confidence about him as well. It's always good to see on a small forward.
And they need confidence at small forward, obviously.
And did you guys, I'll ask you, Rodney, do you reckon Martin and Cochrane didn't really fire? I kind of felt, I know they got their disposals and kicked a couple of goals, but I didn't think they had the same impact on the game that I would have liked to help get us over the line.
I thought Cochrane was pretty good. Dustin, that was a funny game, wasn't it? He kicked a couple of goals, he looked dangerous early, but he was never really in it. And I think that impacted on Cochrane, because I don't think Koch had great deal of support.
No.
Greg had a really down game. But Presty was okay, but they're not getting a lot out of Caddy, I don't think.
Then I don't think they use him well.
Yeah, well, I just don't like. He's dangerous forward, but I tell you what, when we don't have the ball, that's curtains. He's just on the turnstile. Out they go. He's slowest turning circle you've ever seen. That's just, he's not suited to that. So he might be right. He might be better more in the midfield.
Or up or a bit higher even, which I think we need a bit more. But I agree on that. I thought Cochrane was our best midfielder, but Dusty's impact was really 2 goals and not a whole lot else of substance.
Usually there's dangerous balls inside 50, but it just wasn't happening for him. Like, was he actually injured, do we think, or was it just a down game coming off the bye?
He's going to cop the attention again. If he's injured or not. We're talking about Joe Hannison before. Martin would want to be ready this week because they'll go at him really hard.
Absolutely.
I think that he may be injured, and also because with some attention, he was a little bit quiet. So he should expect more of that.
All right, we'll finish off. I don't know how much of the autopsy thread you guys read, but I picked out 2 posts I thought it probably summed up how I felt, which is admittingly pretty early on after the game, so I was still a bit dirty on it. The first one was from WA Tiger 86, and he wrote, Bulldogs and GWS game all over again. We'll stop watching if we have another big first quarter this year. Save myself the stress. Goal kicking again, the main culprit, failed to put away sides and leave the door open. I think that's a pretty fair assessment. We touched on the Bulldog GWS game ourselves, that it was very similar. So very much scathing on the goal kicking, which I think is a fair point. And the second post I saw was from LSTA062. We are honestly the laughing stock of the AFL, and I'm not even going to defend it anymore. They don't even defend it themselves in the footy field from the title. I had a bit of a laugh at that last one, but at the time I kind of agreed that, the media and other supporters are getting stuck into us not being able to close our games, and it just feels like we haven't learned.
No, of course not. This is... Look, I'm certainly not in the Hardwick camp, but I feel this is a problem that's been here since the Carlton elimination final of 5-goal-plus leads, and it's a trend. It's not so much that we've coughed up some bad ones late, but it's the leads. It's the coughing up the leads that's really... It's not losing the close ones at 50-50, because we actually have won a few of those along the way. We beat Sydney in 2014, Sam Lloyd after Soren last year. There's a few along the way that were less than a kick, but it's the amount of coughed up leads, and I think only North would be on par with that many results like that over the last 5 or 6 years.
I saw another post, I didn't write it down who wrote it, but we always get to maybe that 5-goal lead. We can never put on the 6th and 7th. So to really kind of push ahead.
That's very true. We just don't
or even a real steadier.
We did get a couple, didn't it, in the third? When we were under the pump, we kicked a couple. We might have steadied, but no, that was all.
There was one we kicked. It might have been Jack in the last, where he kicked goal, and it took them 30 seconds to respond, and it was just like, oh, you're kidding.
That happens a lot with us. We work so hard to get a goal to try and claw back momentum, and then you blink and they pulled it back, and we're back to square one. It's frustrating.
Yeah. We very rarely get the consecutive goals. Yes. I don't think. I think it did happen on Saturday, but the consecutive goals after getting that lead, just once they get 1 or 2, just to get consecutive ones. It seems. Yeah.
We tend to run out of gas when we start quick too.
And that might be part of it.
They go so hard. I think Natural Disaster actually made a post about that in the autopsy thread, just saying that every time we start really, really quick, we just gas, and he's right. That's happened every time.
And yet we were ordinary against Freo, and the effort wasn't there, and 6-goal last quarter.
Just makes you think, if we can string it together for 4 quarters on a semi-consecutive basis, our best is very much good enough to beat most teams.
Yeah, I thought with Saturday that was a little bit different. I didn't feel like it was a choke. I reckon the whole day had a feeling of invisibility about it, right from halfway through the second, because they just killed us. After that start.
I think we were on top for reasonably large patches in the second. The second was a lot more even than the first, but as they started to play themselves back into the game, there were periods where we had dominance and they did, but ours was poor misses, poor decisions going forward, just little mistakes, and they weren't really bringing it back on the scoreboard, but they looked like they were finding their way into the game, and we just weren't making the most of our chances either. It was like we needed to be 7 goals up.
At that Richmond field, didn't it, when you're at the game?
I think I said to my wife at half time, I said, this has got heartbreak written all over it.
Oh yeah, you can just tell sometimes. You just know. Most times.
All right, well, I want to talk about Toby Nankervis. We got him for pick 46 in the trade period last year. The impact he's had in the team, I think it's been sensational. So what do you think, Starburns? What's your assessment of how Nankervis has helped us out this year?
It's been an absolute bargain, really. Hampson played his best football of his career for about the last 10 weeks last year. But honestly, I guess you want to aim it higher, and Nankervis just feels like when we got Ivan the first year, a bit younger, a bit more athletic, a bit more talented, and he certainly seems to have that same desire, that same attitude, and he reminds me of Mumford in not quite as physical, but certainly he provides a midfield presence that you want your ruckman to have. You don't want him to be an athletic sort of ruckman. You want him to have some. You want him to be a footballer. He's a ruckman footballer, not an athlete footballer. And I don't know, there's something about that just has that. Yeah, it's hard to quantify.
Yeah. I was here too on the Swans podcast, as I said exactly what you just said. And said, one of the best assets is he's a beautiful kick of the footy. What happened on Saturday? He missed his 2 shots. I said, just shut up. I don't say anything anymore.
That's what I was thinking when he lined up in the last. I was like, he kicked it from 50 in the wet against us, and he'll dob this.
Yeah.
He's won before quarter time.
I'll ask you this one, Rodney. My biggest fear with Nankervis is we are going to burn him out like we did to Ivan. Do you think that we need to maybe manage him a little bit better than we did with Big Ivan?
We do, but it's a real issue. I mean, you have a look. I read it on the board, and you read supposed to say, I can't believe they're going in with one ruckman. They're going to burn him out. Well, that's all good and well, but you can't make sure we jam out of shit, because if there's nothing there, you can't do anything about it. The only option is to bring Ivan in. And I've seen him play a few games in the twos, and he is fried.
Yeah.
He had 30-odd hit-outs on the weekend. He'd be good for that. But you've got Hampson, Soldo, Griffiths, Elton, all injured. So Chol, really, he's just not ready. It's just
he's too thin. He's too slight.
Yeah. So I just don't. I'm fearful for Nankervis burning out, and I think it will happen. But I just don't see, apart from bringing Ivan in, what the hell we can do. But we need to do something, because maybe we do have to play Ivan this week or in one of the games. I don't know. I don't know how. I just don't think he's right for it.
And it's about deciding what you do with Ivan as well. Do you pick Ivan? This comes back to, I feel we can't afford anymore, no matter what happens. So Elton being out hurts, but can't afford to not have 2 tools anymore. Structurally, you just got to have him. Is it a case of, do you bring Ivan in and do you give Nankervis a game sort of more forward of the ball and sort of allow him to play a 50% ruck game? Maybe not a full rest, but a couple of those, and utilise Ivan as a forward, even though he's not really chasing, but then you get a mosquito fleet sort of thing going.
Yeah, we'd have to obviously back in the small guys. We do.
And sorry, mate. Yeah, he's been aligned Elton, but he was good. Well, I thought he was important when he played.
Yeah, I think he provides good structure. He only got 6 disposals a game, but you'd say 3 or 4 marks.
Yeah.
And they're generally the ones you
another
need.
Option.
Yeah, and he contests. He's not Ben Griffiths.
That's exactly what I was the same thing.
We're very predictable, and if you've got that tall target, at least, it's how easy would it be playing against Richmond, like for the Swan the other day, once they decided to go man on man? You know exactly what's going to happen every time.
Yeah.
Well, they haven't got an option to go to the tall guy for the crumbs. It's just not there. And you don't have to second guess yourself.
The shot,
it'd be easy.
The shot where Jack lined up and it got touched on the line was frustrating in the last quarter, because think about it, he's lining up from basically 55, I think.
Yep.
And he's kicking to a goal square where I think Caddy was the tallest player we had in the goal line, because Nankervis can't. Nankervis is the only other real tall out there. Can't contest that kick, because he's got to actually hang out in 50 for the quick kick in.
That's right. He's setting up behind play.
So there's no one there's no big body on the line to even try and shepherd that through.
Yeah.
And it probably wouldn't have got through, but an extra foot or 2 on it, maybe it does if someone's there. You never know. And there were times with Sam Reid out back, no one for him to pay respect to. Even Vickery commanded respect.
Well, he's just gone so far backwards, but he did for a period of time. I mean, to be honest, he wasn't a bad player.
And because of this, we're actually damaging Riewoldz's game as well, because he's getting double and triple teamed, because the ball's only going to one spot when you go inside 50. And he's no chance to outmark 3 or 4 blokes, no matter how good he is. So we just, I know there's not really a solution now. I mean, we'll talk about the VFL shortly, but there's Garthwaite, who's played down back but did play forward as a junior, but he doesn't really assist us in the ruck whatsoever, so it still doesn't help in that part of the game.
I think Hampton's a massive loss, to be honest.
I think there's another thing I'll come to, and I'm loath to mention this because of his status on the Richmond board as a polarising figure, but I feel that in light, and it's hindsight, but I feel in light of how things panned out, that delisting McBean when Mackenzie pulled the pin and Vickery went elsewhere might have been jumping the gun a little bit. A 1 year deal, we've been signing Elton to 1 year deals for 4 or 5 years now, and maybe giving McBean a 1 year deal till we saw what else we could get might have been on the cards.
I agree. I mean, he was winning the goal kicking in the VFL, so it's not like he wasn't, doing his job. But we've left ourselves well short.
He probably got an unfair run in the ones, but without going into, as I said, too much of it because he's a polarising figure. But
you have to address it, though, in the off-season. Like, I was talking to May about it the other day, and we have got no young forwards really coming through, bar Child, who's a bit more of a project player, I guess, at this stage.
We don't draft them.
No.
We just don't draft them.
There's more as well, but he's a rookie player, so...
Yeah. And we need to start looking at tall players.
And Jack's, 28, 29, maybe? So he hasn't exactly got a long time left. And big forwards take longer to develop, so we need to start putting that plan into place now. Otherwise, we're going to be sucked.
And bringing them along as a number two.
Yeah. And that's why someone like Shaki would have been maybe a good option because he has got the talent and he could have been that second forward to learn off and he wouldn't have copped the number one defender each week. But he obviously did the right thing by Brisbane and stayed up there, and good on him for doing so. But I don't know what we're going to do about it.
I feel trading for him would have been laced with trouble anyway. The price would have been too high for what he's delivered, and there was every chance he could. Like Tom Boyd's really only played 2 good games in his career, and they just have to be at the right time. Otherwise, he'd be a colossal failure, and you don't want to be saddled with that for too long. I don't.
Very tough position to play these days. Very tough in this brand of. And
it's a big investment to put 2 picks into him, which we would have had to.
Yeah, can you imagine that? We could have got Cloak. He would have copped it, and he would have helped. He would have helped, but the shit he would have copped on our board. In our structure and the way we play, he would have got it 8, 9, 10 times a game. That's all he would have got it.
Yeah.
But he would have brought it to ground. He would have made contest. But like Elton, everyone would have been going, he's useless. I don't really see the big picture and how difficult it is to play this.
Yeah.
The Elton hate baffles me. Yeah. It really does.
He's never going to be a star.
No,
you
but
can sort of see that. But I thought we played pretty well.
Stores was a premiership centre half forward.
That's right. Yeah, well, that's how it is now.
Yeah.
Wayne Carey's hit him off.
You can have one. Like, sure, some clubs are really lucky. Like the Giants have 3, the Crows have about 3, but most clubs have 1 or none.
They're in good nick. Yeah, they're in good nick. The Bombers with that sort of stuff. Yeah, that's why they're so dangerous.
But it's just do the best with what you got. But I feel it was almost with the way when Buddy moved in the midfield, Rance staying back almost had to happen. I feel that almost at that stage, it wouldn't have been, despite how well they were playing, it wouldn't have been a terrible idea to swing either Asprey or Grimes forward or have them pinch hit, drop forward, try and float forward to see if they could provide more of a target.
Yeah, just stretching.
Because we had to win that game back, I feel, and maybe adopting swingman policy could work if we're a little bit taller down back, but it's just...
I suppose the other option for us this week is that they bring Ben Lennon in as a sort of a lead-up forward. I know the gun will love hearing this. If he was really a gun, Ben Lennon would be in strife. But he might have to be the option, as a marking lead-up player, just to give him another option.
Well, I think he has to come in.
Yeah, we'll go through the VFL now to cover it off too, but in terms of the Richmond listed players who performed, you had Morris who kicked 4 goals, and could you imagine the meltdown if he come back in?
Every chance.
Yeah, well, and I read the website before, and the VFL update said that it was reinvigorated in his new role. But I thought we tried that a few years ago when Jake King finished, and it didn't really work. Stengel kicked 2, Lennon kicked 2, Chol 1, and Corey Ellis 1. I think Lennon, he kind of has to be that medium hit-up forward, kind of like a Jack Gunston. I'm no way saying he's going to be playing like Gunston, but he has to play a similar role for us. But there's no one else who can come in and do it.
our forward line's really been hurt by two things that were, I guess, we gambled a little bit last year in letting Vickery go. We gambled on Griffiths stepping up, and unfortunately concussions came along, which you can't do anything about, and that's unfortunate. The other thing we gambled on was, I think, Lennon step into the Deledio high half forward role. Yeah. The overhead marking, bit more mid-size type, and that's Caddy.
We got Caddy for that as well, didn't we?
Yeah, Caddy as well, just to, I guess, make that two-pronged as well. But we haven't really got that player out of either of them. Caddy's been serviceable, but Lennon, he played one game where it was just, he was barely sighted, and that was, he's just.
Do we need to say to Lennon, you've got 5 games guaranteed in a row to settle yourself and make a statement?
I feel we should.
He's on death row, basically, isn't he? So he needs opportunity for himself and for us. And look, it's not his fault that we made the blue, like Starburns just said. We got rid of Vickery. We lost to Leo, and really we should have gone and got us all, either at the draft or via trade, and we didn't. So as a for Griffiths, if something went wrong.
I don't feel it's a blue getting rid of Vickery. I think what we got for him and everything probably worked out well. I think
not getting rid of him, but not
replacing
getting another
not addressing that.
Yeah, we needed another tall in case, exactly like you said, Griffiths goes down, which was the history was there. We should have had recruited someone from another club or got a young kid probably wouldn't have done the job because they wouldn't have been ready, but
at least
would have been the one.
So. Maybe we'd have an air, maybe. You never know. Like, that's... I've never been a fan of the Prestia trade, and I'm still not. I think pick 6 was too valuable a thing to be trading away. And it's, in the end, we probably come out trade week ahead because of what the Giants gave us for lids. But we need that player now if we're going to go tall. And it's just, and we might not have anyway, but it's put in a really desperate situation where, desperate situation, Kurt Dippert.
Surely not.
Might be able to get those 6 guns into Jaden Post.
Cleve Hughes is running around somewhere as well, isn't he?
On the runway.
David Gordis is playing an EDFL. Bring him back.
We're about to run with the tools.
I thought Gordis. I thought he may run at Mark Murphy's missus.
Really?
Wasn't that the story?
Just get in line. That's what they said to him. Take a number, son.
We'll push on to our new looking forward line for Smalls and how we think it's working. So it pretty much looks like it's going to keep consisting of Rioli, Bolton, Butler and Stagner. As frustrating as it can get with their, I suppose, fading in and out of games, the one thing I keep looking back to is Rioli's on 30 games, Bolton's on 4, Butler on 10, and Castagna on 17. So bar Jack Rewalt, it's an extremely inexperienced forward line. I think sometimes a lot of posters and even the media forget that. But at the end of the day, we still are here to win games and we're getting ourselves in position to do so. So they do need to step up. But I think, like you said before, Starburns, the 5-man small forward line just isn't working for us at the moment.
Not just that there's too many of them. I feel that competition for spots is a good thing. And I feel that at the moment, Rioli to me looks like he could have done with a rest. He looks a little bit tired for mine.
Yeah.
Butler's looking a little bit tired, that he was injured for a couple of weeks. And I thought Castagna probably on touch probably could have been given a spell before the Giants game. And then if we'd played it that way, then maybe he'd be getting some form up, getting a bit of form up. And then now that Rioli and Butler have dropped off, he'd come in. And then it'd always be someone nipping at their heels in the twos, the way Bolton effectively has. And, like, Bolton's been rewarded for form, but nobody's made way. Which it feels like, I know there's showing faith in your players, but, yeah, I feel that it's most detrimental to have players. You don't want them always looking over their shoulder.
Yeah.
But you certainly want to keep them a little bit fresh, I guess. Like, just...
I suppose to that point, Rodney, what are your thoughts on Stengel? We've elevated him recently. It does sound like that might be the play that Starburns is talking about, just a bit of a mini rotation policy. They're small forwards. What have you made of his form so far in the VFL?
Yeah, he looks fairly likely. I've seen him getting a run shortly, and just on this week with those smalls, I know it's against what we've just been saying, but I reckon it is one week where you might get away with having the small forward set up this week against Carlton. I don't think it'll suit them. They're not like Sydney. They've got a lot of players that like to peel off and get their own ball. And I think that man-on-man type situation might actually deny Carlton their own drive. And what sets up with Doherty and now they've got Liam Jones and these Plowman, they're not players that would like to necessarily play that type of role. So if you go that small, fast forward setup, it might take away from what their strength is. So I don't mind if we go with it this week.
That's true. They do have a lot of those type of players. The only thing that does concern me about that is, I guess, once again, it comes down to just how much energy they appeared to have in that game. They look like guys with less than 30 games in them. Like Bolton looks the freshest, but that's unsurprising.
Yeah.
Butler looked very, very tired, didn't he?
Yeah, and I thought Rioli has probably since time. But he still
takes a lot on, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's still having small impacts, but he certainly, if you were to look at his numbers, I would guess they've dropped off. The tackle pressure's still there, but he just seems to have lost a yard at the moment. He seems to be, yeah.
Well, they rely on him so much that he would be taxed, I reckon. You've seen in the last quarter when they were trying to isolate him and kick it to him, how much they rely on him. So he would be pretty tired.
And the other thing with Carlton is that maybe the swingman option does become a possibility as well. If you wanted to go tall, if it ever came to that, like their four line as far as talls go, it's Casbolt and I think Wiedering's down there these days as well. But other than that, you probably could release someone if you had to. It's I don't know.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out.
I like that we have small forwards all of a sudden, but
you've got to find balance.
It was only 3 years ago we had done.
Polarised to chocolates, hadn't we? Really? Yeah. Gone from nothing to just having too many.
And that's sort of where we went with Ruckman as well. If Soldo does come on, all of a sudden we'll have two. Where we were looking at almost zero last year. Really, Hampson's a half. Really, tall forwards last year. McBean winning the VFL, not getting games. Now we got one.
Yeah.
Was always going to happen.
All out.
Yeah, it changes quickly.
All right, before we get into the full-blown review of the Carlton game, we'll run with the segment Fire Away. So we have had some of the BigFooty posters send in some questions. We'll start with the first question from Bilk, B-I-L-C. We'll go with you first, Rodney. What was your worst moment as a Richmond Tiger supporter?
Oh, God. How long we got?
Oh, no. I did actually reply to him saying that we could do an entire episode on that on its own.
Well, there's all the obvious ones, the finals and the Carlton one and the big drive down the port and like crap. That was good, that one. The drive down there and 5 minutes later realised you shouldn't have bothered.
That's what I've written down, actually.
But you know what? I reckon the one loss, for some reason, that really dead set tore my heart out more than any other that I could ever remember was the GWS one just recently. I don't know what it was about it. Maybe it was because it was it after the Freo game the week before? And it was just like, this is taking the piss.
Yeah.
Especially when Bolton kicks the goal, you're up and out, and your heart just sinks. You think, why? Why does this just keep happening? And I'd been watching it at a pub, had a couple of beers, and then I moved in house. My sister, and I walked back in the house after, and she said, "What the hell? What's wrong with you?" I said, "What?" She goes, "You look like you just ran a marathon. You look shit out." I said, "Oh, don't talk about it." That's what it does to you. So that loss I'd have up there as one of the most heartbreaking ones that I can think of.
Fair enough. What about yourself, Starburns? What's your worst moment as a Tiger supporter?
Well, is this going to be a weekly thing to ask everyone?
Not necessarily the same questions, but yeah.
Okay,
we can recycle a couple potentially.
I don't know which elimination final it's harder to split, but probably the North one for that. I don't know what it was about that one, but there was something about the way.
Lockie Hampton, that's what it was. He just marked everything, and that was frustrating.
Maybe it was just because it was the second time Wade had played well against us, and just there was. You could almost see it unfolding. I guess that would be one. But if I'm going to pick a non-final and non-obvious one, the one that came to mind, there's so many, it's hard to choose, but the one that came to mind was Geelong last year. At three-quarter time, just the feeling that, hey, we haven't beaten them in a decade. It's going to happen. And it had been a while since we topped up a big lead because we were bad last year. We never got into these positions last year. You almost forgot for a while that we could lose 5-goal leads. And then 6 goals up at three-quarter time, dropping that, I think that's the non-obvious pick. But take your pick of any elimination final.
I'd bloody forgotten about that one. Thanks.
I only remembered it because a Geelong mate reminded me the other day that Joel Selwood still hasn't lost to Richmond in his entire career. So that was a handy reminder to have.
Neither would have Hawkins.
But I had written down the Port Adelaide one. Yeah. See, my worst moment was definitely the Port Adelaide one. We flew up there early in the morning. We were pretty pumped up after the big win against Sydney, I think it was, in round 23. And then to know the game was literally over in the first 7 minutes, which is heartbreaking. And then we had to drive home. So that was just a shit-ass drive home.
I had 3 8-year-olds in the car. They were punch on. About quarter time, it's what are we going to do? They were over it by then.
I went to Punt Road for that. It was so flat. And it was just like, you can't, and you don't want to be, because everyone there's Richmond, so you don't want to be the person who leaves early in disgust and just completely shattered and everything. So you stay to the end, but you hate every minute of it. Like,
it was something good. I don't know, did you do the walk to the ground, Rodney, from, I think it was Rundle Mall? I think it was the Tiger supporters.
Yeah.
Did you do that?
Yeah, I can tell you a little story about it as well. An ex-Richmond player, someone I grew up with, well, he's a little bit younger than me. Did you remember Aaron James?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we bumped into him before the game on that walk. And, having a few beers, and this is how feral the Port supporters are. He had to actually leave the ground before half-time for fear of whacking someone because they recognised him. And then he follows the Tigers. Yeah, he follows the Tigers. And they were just, you should have heard it, ripping him.
They recognised Aaron James 15 years later.
Yeah. We couldn't believe it. And that's what he said. He's going, how good am I going? How good am I going? But he had to leave. He just said, I've got to go. And that was what made the day worse. Their supporters, they're like Carlton supporters on crack. They're unreal.
Oh, they were relentless. Even after the game, you walk in the streets just copping shit left, right and centre. But it wasn't a great day. We'll flip it around. So this one's from Stevie Tigers. What is everyone's best memory in your time following the Tigers?
2014, round 20, the week before that. The week before the Port game. Yeah, the Sydney game. But I was at the London Tavern with about 200 other Richmond supporters at least, watching that on TV. That was amazing, that experience. Like, I've been, and it was weird, not an experience not being at a game and actually getting that, like, but certainly being in that close proximity to that many people all so invested in the one thing. And then it was, in a weird way, watching it on TV made it feel all the more tense. And
because you can see the clock as well, so you know how long's left and all that kind of stuff. Exactly. And the whole build-up of the previous 8 weeks, everything was just this massive culmination in, oh my God, this is happening. Or is it? And then... Yeah, I actually had the same one written down. It was my sister's 21st that night, and I was about 45 minutes late to it because I just wasn't leaving the TV for anything. So I was rocked up in the Richmond jersey, and everyone was happy. So what about you, Rodney? What's your best memory? We'll say besides the grand final, because you were lucky enough to obviously see one. Yeah,
well, I would say the whole 1995 season, and those who are around my age, they'd know what I'm talking about. That was just something out of this world for a Richmond supporter that hadn't had that for a long time. And it was, you know, someone my age, 90s was a great time to be alive, you know, great music, all sort of stuff. But that year was just fantastic. And the semi-final against Essendon, that's the best day I've ever had at the footy. And I was going, half time I'd had enough because I said, I can't handle this shit. Because I was with Essendon supporter mates and one of my Richmond supporter mates said, I can feel we come back, just hang in there. And, the way we just came back and absolutely panched them from 5 goals down at half time, a semi to get to the prelim. Mad nice. Probably the best goals you'll ever see. That's the best day I've ever had at the footy. Yeah.
There's more of that to come.
I was sick and I couldn't go.
Oh, no.
No.
One of those children's colds you get. I would have been about 7 or 8. And, yeah, that was... My mum went, my sister went, and back then, I don't think it was even on TV live. I just had to hear about it or listen on the radio. And you see the replay and you go, gee, I wish I was there for that.
That was amazing, mate. That's the loudest I've ever crowd at the footy.
Well, I've got another question from Stevie Tigers. Who is the most improved Richmond player this season and the most disappointing? So we'll start with you, Starburns.
I don't think it's any secret to say Dave Asprey's probably the most improved.
I had that one as well.
I feel there's still a way to go. I'm not a fan of him when he's got the ball in his hands. I think his tendency to look sideways and backwards first option instead of looking forwards really frustrates me. I think he's instructed to be looking for certain players to give it to, but I feel it does cost us at times. But other than that, he's gone from, where would he be in DNF?
You have to be top 5, I reckon.
And where did he finish last year?
Not top 5, I don't think.
No, probably not the top 10.
Wasn't he leading it one year when he got injured? I reckon.
The year he did his knee?
Yeah, I reckon he was leading the BNF.
Okay. That would be surprising. But was that the 3 and 10 year and then we made finals? I can't remember.
I can't remember, but I know he was going really... I'm pretty sure he was leading or second or something like that.
But, yeah, I think he's most improved. Are we doing both at once or
is
everyone
improved? Yeah, do both at once.
Okay. Most disappointing. I guess it's got to be Ben Lennon.
Yeah.
For the reasons discussed earlier. The spot was there. It was his. It was only his. As far as, in my opinion, it was his to take. It was there for him to take if he wanted it. To be the guy we paid $400K a year to. And to take that next step, the opportunity was there and he really hasn't. He hasn't taken it. It's been given to him. He hasn't done enough to win the opportunity back either. It's just, yeah.
Fair enough. And yourself, Rodney, most improved and most disappointing?
Well, I think Asprey, as you said, but I'd say another one would be Camden McIntosh.
Yeah, good call.
I'm a big fan of Camden McIntosh. I think he's a really, really important player for us. Basically, if he doesn't play well, I don't think we can win games, really. Well, him and Hooley to an extent, but McIntosh has got that hard edge that,
We did miss him last year.
Oh, massively. Yeah, huge.
He can run all day.
Yeah. There's something quite not right going on upstairs. You get that feeling, that's like a bit like Tucky type thing, and I love that in a player. And you need that. You really do. We don't have enough players like that. But he makes good decisions too, and he's got the dash. That play against North the other week, he took 3 or 4 bounces. You love seeing that type of stuff. He just takes them on. He'd be my mate improved.
Yeah, good call. And most disappointing?
Well, I'd say Josh Caddy, but he's not, it's his first year at Richmond. And he hasn't been woeful, but there's just little things that I think it's only going to get worse as he gets older.
Yeah.
But the most disappointing, I would say, would be Sam Lloyd. I'm a massive fan of Sam Lloyd's ability as a footballer, really natural footballer, but and always seems to do great pre-seasons and get fitter, but he doesn't even look fit. He doesn't look, I don't know, he just doesn't even look like, he looks a shell of the player that he was, and which is a real shame because he could find himself out in his arse.
I would have thought he was one of our few highlights last year, probably the most improved we had last year.
I'm looking forward to it again.
Yeah. And then I don't know what it is. Maybe he just doesn't fit the forward line that we've got. It just doesn't work for him. But for a guy who plays pretty well as a marking target for his size, he's the one we should have been kicking it to on Saturday. But you never saw him in a position get it kicked to him.
No, that's
He's
right.
down on confidence. He really is. Well, I noticed against North, he was in position to mark a lot of times, but they just weren't kicking it to him, and that would affect his confidence as well. I think that's half of it. I think he's thinking, they're not going for me, because they've got these small falls leading everywhere.
Yeah.
He's just like afterthought.
Yeah,
and maybe that's affecting as well.
Sorry, I always thought that was a problem with Ben Griffiths when he played in the same team as Vickery. That's why I thought Vickery leaving might help him, because he was always overlooked. He was like, when going forward, within 60 metres of goal, barely got used. It was Vickery or it was Jack. Vickery got more than he deserved, and Jack probably got a little bit less, but Griffiths was an afterthought when that happened.
To a lesser extent, Elton suffered the same fate. There was plenty of times he was leading in good position, but just got completely ignored. So there's not much you can do about that as a player. And then he cops all the criticism because he's not getting touches, but if no one's kicking it to you.
There was plenty of times where Elton done the real team thing too and led to positions that weren't great for him.
Yeah.
And he knew it wasn't going to be great for him, that it was better for the team. And he was getting, crushed, but he was bringing it to ground.
That's right.
And I was enjoying that part of his play, but a lot of people overlooked that stuff.
For most improved, I had Asprey as well, for reasons you guys stated previously. For my most disappointing, I went with a three-way tie. It might be a bit harsh because I know some of these blokes have had injuries, but I've gone with Corey Ellis, Reece Conker and Ben Lennon. Simply because, Corey Ellis was picked 12, Reece Conker picked 6, and Ben Lennon picked 12. I just don't feel like we've really gotten anything valuable in return out of those three, given how high they were drafted and who's taken around them. I know Ellis and Conker have had their injury issues, but those guys should be well and truly entrenched in best 22 by this stage of their career. They're just not even pushing blokes out, I don't think. They're not even...
No, yeah, they're not naturally running down a spot.
No, and that's kind of concerning. And
I feel a bit for Conker. He was going real well.
Yeah,
this year he was having a good year.
Conker showed it.
It's happened a few times to him. He's looked like finally, but I think he's always going to be injured, unfortunately.
Since that Carlton elimination final, he's never been the same from that hamstring injury.
Yeah.
I honestly thought at the end of last year, when the rumour of the second rounder from Freo was rising round, I'd have said take that because I thought he was cooked.
Yeah, I agree.
Not just body, but certainly he just didn't seem to have the same. Even when he was in the side, just didn't seem to have the same thing. And then he put a few weeks together this year, but now he's injured again.
Yeah. It's a bit of bad luck to have with your first round picks, I guess, but it's definitely very frustrating.
Corey Ellis is frustrating for another reason. I think he's too timid.
Got a good left boot on him. He can kick a ball. But...
Those games he played off
that was the problem. I saw him play probably 5 or 6 under-18 games. A mate of mine, son, was playing for the Western Jets, so I used to go and watch him play, and Connor Menagew was in the same team.
Yeah.
I remember saying, this kid, this Corey Ellis, he was just like gliding around. He was just doing it so easy. And one of the guys, Dad said he played in the AFL, and he said his problem's going to be he got another gear because he doesn't even have to try you. He said when he goes up there, is he going to, and he's been dead. He's absolutely 100% right. Exactly what he said is exactly what's happened because he just doesn't. Starburns said he looks timid because he's never had to really go in there and really win a hard ball. He was doing it so easy.
Yeah.
I think he looked okay in a couple of games where he played off halfback before the first injury or the second injury. I can't remember which one. Where he racked up about 20-odd disposals back-to-back weeks as the loose halfback. And then he was injured. But the Dogs game with 6 disposals for the whole match.
Yeah, you can't have that.
It's just...
Well, he had this week. I think he had 10 or 12 touches in the twos this week, and that's not going well at all.
Well, he should,
on the role we play him in.
No, he should be trying to hit between that 16 to 24 possession mark.
He had 30 the week before.
And he's damaging. That's the thing that's frustrating. He's damaging when he gets it, but he just needs to get it a hell of a lot more. Like, he'd be good to do side by side with Basher Hawley. Both of them running off halfback, hitting up our forwards. That'd be perfect. Yeah. But
where does Cam McIntosh fit into that, though? That's the...
Well, you could almost play him and Brandon Ellis off wing. They both can run.
Yeah, okay.
He's just a natural athlete, isn't he, Cam? So
pretty versatile, Cam, I reckon.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll push on to the preview for this week's game against Carlton. Firstly, I'll just thank Natural Disaster for the weekly review thread on the Richmond BigFooty page. I went through and found a couple of posts early on, just a bit of a laugh at it. So Captain Koch9 posted, if we lose this one, I'm deleting my BigFooty account, Facebook account, Instagram and Snapchat. I think that sums up a large majority of us if we happen to drop this game. And Joel Sight writes, I'd like to think if we're 45 points up at three-quarter time that Carlton are not good enough or potent enough in the forward line to kick 8 goals in the final quarter, but this is Richmond and that is actually a new and imaginative way for us to lose. And she's fairly spot on with that as well.
The Nostradamus is threatening to get rid of his account as well if Richmond make the finals. He said we will not make the finals. Yeah, he said they won't make it. I was reading it. That was my favourite autopsy post. I was having a bit of chuckle. And he's right what he said. Well, what he was saying, he said we've got the best defender nearly ever played. We've got a 2-time Coleman medalist. We've got one of the best 5 players in the comp. We've got a Brownlow medalist. But we've got too many bloody passengers. He goes, we will not make the finals. I'll bet my account on it.
Wow.
He's put it out there.
I'll hold him to that one. So it is a massive game for us. I think the moment we lost last week, we added a whole lot of pressure onto ourselves that we didn't need, especially dropping to 6 when we should have, if we had one last week, we're a game clear inside the 4. The Carlton aiming for 3 in a row. To be honest, not many people thought they were going to win many games this year, but they're up and about, they're confident, and Bolton's been playing a pretty good style of football. And I don't think anyone thought we would be talking about this at the start of the year, but Liam Jones is actually in some sort of form as a key defender. He's reinvented himself. it's mind-blowing. But, he held Patton, I think, to no goals.
Patton and Lynch.
And Lynch, they're big scalps.
He's not done it against Tom Boyd,
What's he going to do this week? He's got no one to play on. He's buggered. Maybe that's another reason to play the small forward setup. I'm quite serious.
Yeah, I think cool, because we can
really throw him out.
Will Marchbank take, or Wiedering take Jack? Or will they, surely they'll have to give Liam Jones first crack, given how he's going, just to keep his confidence up potentially.
I think he's the least capable of playing his own game loose as well. Yeah, Marchbank can peel off if he has to. But they've been moulding him like that for a while.
I think Marchbank took 10 marks against us in round 1. A lot of them just set marks floating across. So we definitely need to make him accountable. But I think you're right. I feel like Liam Jones would look lost if he was playing on no one.
I'd love for him to play on Jack. I think there's a difference with those Jacks. Unbelievably intelligent footballer.
Yes.
Yeah.
And very, very skillful. Liam Jones is not.
We would have to, whoever he's on, we'd have to isolate in the goal square, surely.
Yeah.
Yeah, although Jack's also being smart is you don't want it to hit ground level, but if you can, I guess isolate him one out and allow the ball to a situation where Carlton aren't going to mark it, he's probably well positioned to beat Liam Jones because Patton's not exactly quick or agile, and Lynch is fairly agile, but I think he's actually he kicked 6 again. He beat up on someone before that, but I don't think he's had a very good year.
Different players to Jack, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think Jack's well placed to exploit him if we play it right and things pan out.
God, I hope he plays on him.
I'd also love to see Dusty play in the square against Liam Jones as well. That would be an interesting matchup. I'd be getting it in there as quick as humanly possible to that matchup. Speaking of Dusty, though, this matchup may not necessarily occur, but I've got him head-to-head with Ross Gibbs. I know we spoke about Gibbs earlier on having a pretty stellar year, but I think that's going to be a pretty important matchup. Whichever one of them get on top and take hold of the game will go a long way to getting the 4 points, I think.
Yeah, he's a handful at the moment, Gibbs. We're going to have to do something with him. You're going to put some time into him. I don't think if you stop Gibbs, that's a bit like I thought. Well, we've got Koch and I don't really rate Murphy that much, but Gibbs, put some time in him. I don't know, maybe Lambert or bring in a Townsend to flatten him or something like that.
I think the VFL report said he laid one of the biggest tackles you'll ever see in the game against Geelong.
Yeah,
so
Yeah, I heard that, yeah.
He's just, I don't know. If you bring him in, who goes out there? It would have to be someone like him.
Oh, no. He won't come in.
And then we've got the...
the only reason he'd come in is if he played that, he might play the forward type role, because he's been doing that in the twos. But, yeah.
But then Morris pops up and kicks 4, and like I said before, if he gets a gig, then completely...
Oh, no.
But then I think isn't Loston almost ready to come back in as well?
He hasn't played for 5 or 6 weeks, so I can't see him coming back in.
I'd say give Floss, considering he's picked up a few this year.
A couple of weeks of VFL.
Give him a couple of weeks, because I think he might be... If Lennon gets the opportunity and doesn't take it again, Floston might have to be the marking target forward.
Yeah, which is a concern, because he tried that early on and it didn't really work.
Yeah, and so... But I guess it's a different setup. He was playing with 2 tools back then.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe he was getting ignored there, the same way the others do. But certainly, I think he's going to cop some punishment. Maybe just ease him back.
So do we reckon that the obvious change might be Lennon for maybe a Sam Lloyd, or Grimes might be out by default with injury potentially?
I thought Menadue was fairly disappointing on the weekend, which, considering he's playing that sort of half-forwardish role as well.
Yeah.
Actually, he might be the Townsend. I wouldn't be surprised if Townsend and Lennon both came in for Lloyd and Menadue.
Yeah, that could be some fair changes.
I've just forgot about Moss.
No, please.
Hopefully they go with Cano over Morris, because he hasn't had that many opportunities, and he's a very natural forward, more than Morris.
Yeah.
And he's more goals.
And at least he's at ground level in the air. He's got no fear, so he'll apply pressure as well and crunch a few blokes at the same time.
Yeah, and can take a mark.
Yeah. The other matchup that would be interesting is Casbolt versus Asprey. So I know people have had a bit of a laugh at Casbolt over the years with his poor kicking, but he has improved that quite a bit this year. I think he's actually ahead of Tom Mitch on the goal kicking tally. He can clunk a mark and he can crash a pack. And I think it's going to be a bit of a test for Asprey, because we don't really want Rance going to him so he can do his own thing. But I reckon it's going to be a really interesting matchup for us.
I think I would have said in the past that Casbolt was a perfect matchup for Asprey, because Casbolt not exactly agile, but obviously Asprey's improved in that regard. But how did he go on him round 1? I can't quite remember. I think he played well, didn't he? Asprey?
Casbolt. Asprey. Yeah, that's not a bad game.
Casbolt was fairly ineffectual for them. Like, I think they got their goals I can't remember how they got their goals. They somehow kicked 13 of them, but I don't know who kicked them.
He's definitely the barometer for him, Casbolt. If he's up and about and kicking goals early, it really does lift the rest of the team. And I think that round 1, I think he only might have kicked 1, and he did shake a couple, which kind of set the tone for them a little bit for the rest of the game.
Yeah, he's a. The one thing I'm not worried about with Richmond, I shouldn't be saying this because I apologise, but I never get that concerned about our defence being beaten, really. Like, I think our defence is in that good a shape. But you're right, they've got someone like Casbolt. He's the best contested mark in the comp.
Just about.
But, but I'm not too fussed about that. I reckon the pressure, Rance, Asprey, hopefully Grimesy plays. That's not an area I'm worried about. I'm more worried about us converting and scoring, which has been our problem all year.
That's the biggest point for us. If we don't convert and we give them a sniff, we're in a bit of trouble. We just have to nail those easy shots at goals, as simple as that.
Like, if it's a shootout, I don't think we're getting into a shootout with anyone. Sorry.
No.
And certainly not Carlton of all teams. Like, we kicked a reasonably competitive score, if I remember correctly, against the Crows. We still got to 70 odd, didn't we?
Yeah, they just scored a lot.
It's just that they opened us up and they don't seem to have done it, I think. So, we've kept good scoring teams like the Giants down. Who else? Essendon have been scoring pretty freely, but we kept them to a lowish score. So, it's not the defence, it's just, can we keep them to less than we Can we score more than what we keep them to?
Fingers crossed.
But you're right. This is the week they put up 120 points on us.
Oh, no doubt. And BigFooty will explode if that happens. There, all right, well, just about to wrap it up. What we'll do, we'll get a prediction from both of you for the game. So, how much? I won't even say who do you think are going to win. I'll just say how much do you think we're going to win by. Keep
it positive.
Yeah, keep it positive. No negativity here. All right, Starburns, how do you think we'll win by?
I'll go full optimism, and I will say 6 goals.
6 goals, fair enough. And Rodney, what about yourself? What do you think we'll get by this week?
Yeah, I think I said today in the preview thread, I've got the same sort of feeling. I think if we don't win, it won't be by much, but I have a feeling we're going to win pretty comfortably for some reason. I'll go 45 points.
Didn't you write something about 240 or something like that? Didn't you put something outlandish on there?
That was to wind up the Carlton supporters that were jumping on there. Saying I'd be surprised if we don't win by 2-4, I'd be disappointed.
Well, that's a fair enough margin.
But, 45 points, I reckon. I just get a funny feeling about it.
I agree. I think, I don't know why, but for some reason I think a response will come this week.
You'd like to think so, but I suppose I get really nervous about these games, and I'm probably a bit more conservative than both of you. I'll say somewhere between the 18 to 20 point mark. You just don't know with Carlton. I know we've had the wood over them recently after they gave it to us for quite a few years in a row. But I just think with their momentum that they've got and the confidence being a young team, that it's just so unpredictable. But like you guys said, you'd like to think we would bounce back after our game last week.
I think it also comes from, I think we'll win, and we're clearly not winning the close ones.
Yeah.
So that's sort of also where it stems from, that if we're going to beat them, we're going to actually do it by getting out in front and not coughing it up. We're not winning an arm wrestle with them. We're sort of either at a semi-lead, a small lead, and then bridging them at the end. I think like we sort of did in round 1, we were about 20 points out and then it ended up being 40.
Yeah.
Or just absolutely blowing them away and then, as you said, perhaps blowing them away, not being capable enough, someone posts on Richmond board to actually bring us back, like the other teams who have. And, yeah.
Well, either way, I think this game is going to tell us a lot about what's in store for us for the rest of the season. It's a pretty important game.
Yeah, not wrong.
Because if we lose, I mean, we could quite easily be outside the 8 if we drop this game. So it's virtually one of those 8-point games, I guess you'd call it. So,
well, at least Nostradamus gets to keep his account.
That's a positive. And then maybe she'll have something else to complain about for another week if we're going to drop it. But
that's not even entertain it.
We need his Morris in and we'll be fine. He's our saviour. But I think that just about does it, guys. So thanks heaps for coming on, Starburns and RodneyDangerfield. It's been a pleasure chatting to you blokes. Thanks to everyone for sending in their questions as well. I know we didn't get to all of them, but we might use some for next week as well. It actually ran a lot longer than what I anticipated, to be honest. Thank you guys for coming on, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks very much, Michael.
Thanks for having us on.
No worries, guys.